Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Josie Way. Co-hosting with me tonight is Kathy Costa. And our guest, it's been a long while since I first heard of her for me to be able to find her, is Jean Mandeville. She has a list with a lot of things that she does. Of them, I've picked two things that I would like her to discuss with us, and we'll see where that takes us. First, with Kathy, I would like to talk about mediumship development. I've been in classes, but I know it's different if you're teaching it than if you're learning it. So how do you arrange a class to help somebody become a medium?
Okay, well, it's nice to be here with you today, and we're talking about one of my very favorite subjects. So what you just said there, learning is different than teaching, and teaching is a skill unto itself. So the first thing that would happen with someone is that they would be, before they are guided to a class, is there's an activation that occurs within the soul. And often enough, but not always, there's some type of traumatic, difficult event that will assist in the activation. And then it becomes a calling. And you may remember the time, Kathy, that you began to feel called to experience this gift. So the calling is, there's the part of our gift that is natural and we have just been given, and there's the part of our gift that is work and takes all of the development.
Yeah, it is a process.
It absolutely is. And I'm a third-generation medium.
Oh.
My mom was a medium, and her mom was a medium. But they didn't have a network or a vocabulary. But they had such really wonderful experiences. But they did not have the chance to learn and develop, and how to handle the gift, what to do with the gift, what are the purposes of a gift. And it took me until 27 years ago when one of my friends went to someone called a medium for something called a reading. And I listened to the cassette tape, which is, at this stage, we're dating ourselves a little bit with the mention of that.
Yeah, a little bit.
And as I listened to this cassette tape, I was so fascinated. I'd never heard anyone talk like this medium did. So I signed up for an appointment and the journey began. So first there is an activation, and then somehow your spirit guides guide you to a teacher and guide you to learn.
Right. Give me an example of what an activation might be like, so people experiencing it might know what's happening for them. But it's different for everybody.
My take on this is that we don't really think of it at the time because we're probably very preoccupied with something else. And that it is on hindsight, and when we learn that there's an actual activation, that we can look back on that time in our life and see what was happening. And often enough, it was a challenging time.
Yeah, for me, though, was during a period of grief, because I had lost my husband a little bit more than 10 years ago now. So during that grieving, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was within a matter of a couple of days he passed away. He actually came to me in what it's called, like an apparition, which I know it takes a lot of energy from the spirit side to do that, to have enough energy to be able to do that. And I saw him standing right next to me. And it kind of startled me, though, because the first time that's ever happened. And then all of a sudden, as soon as I got startled, he was gone. I'm like, oh, man, it's like, I lost the opportunity. But that's what I tell all my students all the time. It's going to happen where you can get so startled, so don't worry about it. It'll come again. So that's what happened with me, though, too. And then it was a slow process to get to the point where I think I got more interested in, becoming practicing and taking classes and stuff like that. So it was, and then until after the fact, like you had mentioned, where, I didn't realize what was happening and how much I was actually starting to be able to talk to my family members. That's on the spirit side. So it was definitely quite the process before I got really enough interested, like, to realize, okay, there's something to this.
There absolutely is.
Yeah, so it took various classes, though, and then now I hold my own circle once a month and help other students to do it that way, though, too.
So you had something called an objective clairvoyant experience.
Yeah.
And my sense is that it became a subjective clairvoyant experience and that he was actually still there. But in that moment of being startled, the objective is as long as it was brief.
Yes.
But what a beautiful sign from him.
It was, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not sure how it came to me. I've had various psychic events, but I can't picture when I first got the mediumship.
Well, the psychic, everyone is psychic and everyone can develop that, but not everyone is a medium.
Right.
And as you know, all psychics, all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. So it depends on, according to my teacher, who's really such a wonderful example, 82 years old, Mavis Patilla, has been doing mediumship for 52 years. And I was in the 2020 mentorship program with her and took 48 classes. And Mavis explained to us that mediumship is in the DNA, and you have it or you don't. It's the first time I had heard somebody say that. So then it boils down to spiritual purpose. If all of a sudden you discover you have this gift, you're interested in developing it, you can find some teachers, and there's always purposes to the gift. And that your purpose is going to be different than my purpose is going to be different than your purpose. While the purposes may have similarities, but strongly, my purpose is to be on the platform in spiritualist churches and to do public demonstrations of proving the continuity of life from spirit. Yeah. I also do private work, but some people gravitate toward platform, some gravitate towards private, some do both. And I really enjoy one-on-one private readings very much. And I find that part of my purpose is that many times I'm the first medium that someone has been to. And I feel that this is because of my teaching background, that I do a fair amount of teaching about what the process is when someone is with me, a medium, for the first time. Yeah.
I had one experience where a friend this time of the year asked me to do a party on Halloween. And I was leery about that because I thought she was thinking of it more as a social type of event. So I said, well, I'll just go with it and see where it went. Well, every person that came to me came for the person that I was reading for. Each person had someone on the spirit side of life that owed them apologies.
Oh, yes.
Every one of them. So I know I seem to be one of those that draws people for emotional healing.
That's beautiful.
Back from spirit.
And that they cannot give an apology unless they are totally secure, sincere with it.
Yes.
So you're fulfilling an important function there
Yeah.
with your gift.
And most of them left the room crying.
Yeah,
You know,
healing-
and at first I was like, oh my God, can I handle this? You know, when it happened.
Healing tears.
Yeah.
And it not only, see, mediumship is a very healing experience. And it's such a privilege for us to be the intermediary in that healing process.
Yeah.
And that it's not only healing to the sitter and the recipient of the message, it's very healing to the spirit.
Yes. Yes, the spirit feels a great deal of relief and release
Yes.
from finally being able to say, I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And that it's really lovely sitting with you too, because we're all mediums, and it shows how natural and normal this process is, and that it's beautiful and healing, and it's a process of love.
Now, mediumship, as I've done it, has taken me a step further in not just proving the continuity of life, but to proving that we are all one. We are not alone. There are divine beings watching over us and watching over our spirit loved ones. They're still being taken care of by spirits. You know, when you're able to speak to angels and ascended masters and some saints, it's unbelievable where it can take you.
Now, in my experience, though, when someone passes away due to a traumatic event, whether it's someone else's doing or accident or their own doing, I've seen there's different kinds of angels that actually help them through that.
Yes.
And, sometimes I have to explain that though to the client though too. It's like, hey, they're being helped to heal from this as well though too on that side as well.
Absolutely.
So, I find that they're very healing for the client as well, though, too, to hear. It's like, oh, okay, so, they're doing work on that side, though, too, just so they don't kind of stay stuck.
My expression for heaven is that it's very well organized.
It is. I've noticed that. It is, yeah.
They are so synchronous.
Yeah.
I can't get over. I had an interesting experience. I went to visit with a friend that I had just met at a group from college. And she was Jewish, and she had other guests, and one of them was her rabbi. I don't know why, but one day I was driving through the area where she lived, and I went to one of the fast food chains to order some French fries. I was a vegetarian at the time, so I couldn't get anything else. And who do I meet there, of all people, at just that time, is the rabbi. And I don't know what the purpose was, but I know that was arranged for me to meet him there. I asked him a few questions, and apparently I needed to know the answers to those questions. And
It's amazing how
amazing
it
how
works.
they worked.
I think we can all come out of happenings in our life and see how they aligned, and we can feel a purpose to them.
And a sense of connection with something higher than ourselves.
And it brings a meaning to life, a purpose. And I know we were talking last summer about the relationship with spirit guides, in that one particular spirit guide of mine I worked with quite a bit, called Lydia, and in the early years of my demonstrations would go into trance, and Lydia would speak through me. And then my guides wanted me to study a more classic approach towards mental mediumship, and then at times I begin to just work with physical, not sure how far I'm going to go with that.
Right.
But the relationship with guides is an interesting one, because while I worked very up close and personal with Lydia, there were several guides that I had no really idea of their names or their function, but it, of course, makes them no less effective.
Right. And I had a lot of guides, but they didn't give me their names. I asked, and I felt a little slighted that they wouldn't give me, their names, that something was wrong with me. But they basically let me know, you shouldn't be all caught up in wanting to know the name. Just get to the message of what they're guiding you to do.
Yes, that experience is so true. And guides they're all about us and assisting us, and we do like to know about them, but many guides will say just that. Nope, it's not about me. Just here's your message, here's what you need at the time.
Yeah, sometimes though with my clients, they ask me like if I have a name, and I never get a name. I know some mediums do, but sometimes though I do get that though from the guide or the client, the loved one in spirit, and I don't get a name. But,
yeah, just here and there.
Yeah, oh,
I do.
Same for you.
It depends on the evidence that the spirit wants to give. Mm-hmm. So, we all know what types of evidence there are about someone's life, whether it's personality, how they passed, their hobbies, the shared memories together. Mm-hmm. And so we all know that list of possibilities. So when I connect and blend energies with the spirit, I'll say, what would you like to talk about? And they know the memories that the sitter is going to be able to identify them, and that has meaning to the sitter.
I have seen you working from a platform in Wareham, and you did very well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. And you saw me at that very special place, can we mention it?
Yes, yes.
Of the wigwam. And what a wonderful energy is in that place.
So full of spirit.
So, it's just so wonderful to work there. And so you both have probably experienced the difference in the energy of being amongst people. Like at Spiritualist Church, they're going to hold the energy, not even realizing that they're holding that space for you. And if you go to a message circle, and many of them are brand new to sitting with the medium, you can absolutely tell the difference in how the energy just isn't held for us. Just a different feeling to work with.
It is. Yeah, and I find that sometimes a little bit hard to get started because of that, though. I find, I know it's just because I haven't been doing it as long as you, but it's just a lot easier than when people know to hold the space.
It is.
It's different.
And then when you begin to compare both arenas and you begin to notice that difference, you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My largest circle was last year at Pine Grove Spiritualist Camp. And I had a week there as the weekly medium, and it's a very special historic place that next summer will be in our 140th year.
Wow.
And I'm on the board there. And so Wednesday night was message circle night, and people don't call ahead and make appointments. And the cars kept coming and coming. I'm sitting inside the cottage going, oh, how many people are going to be in this circle tonight? And there was 27.
Wow, that's a big crowd.
People, it was. So I began by talking about the spirit world and how and I said, everyone will get a message tonight, in that even just knowing that you've come with the possibility of hearing from them fills their heart, just brings them so much joy that you want to hear from them in spirit. And you've more than likely had your loved ones in spirit say to you that they're so pleased that they can communicate with you, because so many on that side don't have someone that they can communicate with.
Yeah. I have actually had an uncle of mine come through someone else, through a medium, come through and tell me he was very proud of me that I was able to search through the religions and find a different religion than he was a rabbi. And he accepted totally that I had found a different religion that reflected my needs. And I felt so relieved with a message like that.
Mm-hmm. And look at the place of understanding that he is at on that side, and that everyone comes to on that side, is seeing the value in something that was not necessarily embraced while they were here.
Yeah.
But they can see it from there.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. The other thing about guides and mediumship, sometimes your guides turn out to be relatives. It's not often, but sometimes our guides mature and grow and start to give us messages. And sometimes they can become our guides. More often it might be a grandmother or something, someone who's been doing it a long time.
It's funny you say that though, because actually one of my grandmothers that passed away ended up being one of my guides. She passed when I was 5, so I don't have a lot of physical memories of her. So that's what happened with me. One of my guides is actually my grandmother. So it's amazing when she comes. She comes to me often, actually, even through like other mediums though too. It's like, oh, okay, well that's my grandma.
I feel that we come into an incarnation with an understanding of what our major life's lessons are going to be, what we're coming down to learn, and that life is the classroom, and that we learn all that we can. We may not pass all of our lessons, and then we go on that side and we reflect. So I feel that when a relative is acting in that capacity, that they are studying, I think, family patterns. And because we have the things that we inherit through our DNA, the role models, what we see growing up, the beliefs that we embrace because, oh, this is how my family identifies themselves, so this is my belief system. And there's the times that belief systems can be limiting. So my feel is that those grandparents on that side have had that chance for self-reflection, and that so they're assisting us. And well, let's not. I think they try to speed up the learning process for us, and like
agree.
hopefully, like they want for us to not take as long to learn certain things as perhaps it took them.
Yeah, because remember, like my family is very, very religious, and so understandably, my grandparents were too, and my grandmother used to always say when I first started this work, I was like, I'm glad though that you opened up. I'm glad you're doing this work, and so it's just like this is coming from someone that went to church every week, and prayed every day, the rosary every day. Yeah,
they see the value of it, and how mediumship, while it's understood more and more, there's still misunderstanding about it.
Yeah.
So we already have a few minutes left. How can we get a hold of you if we wanted to get a reading from you?
I would suggest, I do have a website I call an antique, so it needs some attention. So I would say with my email.
It's better.
And which is jean.mandeville@gmail.com.
Now, how do you spell your name?
So it's JEAN.MANDEVILLE.
Okay, and that's at gmail.com, you said?
Yes,
Okay, so that's the better way to get hold of you versus your website?
it is.
Okay, All right.
One thing about being a medium or going to mediums is you begin to see the sense that all of these things that are happening to you are not random patterns. They are opportunities to grow and expand. And as soon as you get to feel that way, you're able to relax and just do your best and move forward faster by listening to, you know, the guidance.
And I love being philosophical, and we are here to learn, and we are here to expand. And despite it all, despite all that we go through, if, when we're ready to pass to that world, we can hold ourselves with grace and love, despite it all, then we've done very well passing our lessons.
Yeah, because that's really all we're here to learn. How to be more loving and caring. Many of us have to learn how to be more loving and caring of ourselves.
Absolutely.
That's one of the first things you learn.
Well, in that there's so much guidance from the spirit world that assists us in our living here, and that I feel that with my clients that the lesson of finding self-value and self-worth is quite a struggle for many people.
Yes. Yes. They have little voices in their head telling them otherwise. And silencing those voices is hard.
It is that somewhere they embraced a negative message that was said to them along the way. And if you thought of yourself, it was considered maybe conceited, or and as a woman, you're supposed to think of everyone else.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So there's great value in what you said, and finding love for self.
Yes. And if you can just learn a little something whenever you go to a medium or start developing yourself as a medium, you won't believe what a wonderful world we have.
We really do.
Yeah.
And that there's beauty in every day.
Yeah. You know, we folks don't appreciate it quite as much, but that was it.
So I also find that too, that there's a difference between being conceited but yet though actually giving yourself enough credit though to actually love yourself enough. You know, because you can do too much, and that's where the ego comes in though too though, but there is a difference there. A lot of times we confuse that. Yeah. So a lot of times though, we tend to confuse that though too though. So we got to worry about that as well though too.
And some, not to be judgmental, some mediums think when they become famous, it goes to their head, and they think they're better than other mediums.
Yeah.
And we're all, it's just the gift that we can share, who we can share it with.
I like being a spokesperson, but I don't have the need for fame, and I think it would drive me crazy. and cameras in the house, forget that.
I've actually seen in one instance so far, like I actually knew the person where he got to that point and he lost the gift.
Yeah.
For I think it was a good 5 or 6 years at least.
Yeah, I know of one like that too.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about the same person.
Yeah.
And then eventually he started doing this again, but not to the capacity that he was before. You know, because he got so burnt out that he was doing it so much that, like, you know, he just lost it because he was doing so much with it.
Yeah.
You have to be able to, it's all about balance. So balance of loving self, but not bringing ego into it, in what your purpose is. And for some, it's just being a quiet medium, fulfilling a local purpose.
Yeah, that's why I always tell my students, do not let your ego get in the way.
Yeah,
because it's actually taken away.
Yeah.
you know, and I never want to get to that point though, because it is a gift.
Yes.
You know, it's just something that we do learn to keep with, and we still have to be humble with it because we're the in between.